Let's be honest. We talk a lot about what women need in intimacy. We talk about connection, about emotional presence, about feeling seen. But what if I told you that men, yes, even the emotionally distant ones, have secret cravings they won't say out loud? They fantasize. They imagine. They want more than just the basic checklist of sex. And not because they're selfish, but because they're human. Tonight, I'm pulling the curtain back. I'm going to tell you the 6 dirty things men secretly want you to do in bed, the things that live in their minds but rarely escape their lips. Not because they don't trust you, but because society taught them to stay quiet. So if you're ready to understand him on a primal level, if you're ready to own your power in the bedroom, then let's talk. Because this is your masterclass in sexual confidence and control. There's something electric about a woman who doesn't wait to be chosen. She chooses, not with words, not with hints, but with touch, presence, and fierce, undeniable energy. That bold initiation, the moment she reaches out first, leans in first, kisses first, climbs into a space, and claims what she wants. That is the kind of moment that lives in a man's mind long after the lights go out. It's not just about control. It's about validation. It's a deeply psychological experience that awakens the masculine in ways few things can. Men are conditioned to chase. They're told to be the initiators, the decision makers, the ones who make the first move. And while that can feed their ego, it doesn't always nourish their soul. What does? A woman who says through her body, her eyes, her hands, you're wanted, desired, craved. That kind of forward feminine energy doesn't weaken a man. It ignites him, it makes him feel alive. And more than that, it makes him feel seen. Imagine this. He walks into a room, and instead of waiting for him to reach out, she walks over, pulls him close, and kisses him like she already owns the moment. No hesitation, no small swallow, just chemistry, intention, and physical clarity. That moment tells him everything he needs to know, that she's not afraid of what she wants, that she's confident in her desire, that she doesn't wait for permission to be passionate. This isn't just foreplay, it's psychological dominance, in the most sensual way. Men don't always say it out loud, but they long to feel chosen. They crave to be the object of hunger, not just the one who's always supposed to chase it. And when a woman initiates with conviction, it removes the doubts that can sit like static in his mind. Does she really want me, or is she just responding? That uncertainty vanishes when she grabs his hand and pulls him toward her with that locked-in eye contact. That's clarity. That's erotic authority. That's the kind of energy that says, I don't just want you, I need you. And here's where the intimacy deepens, because when a man feels wanted, truly wanted, he lets his guard down. He stops performing and starts surrendering. He stops analyzing and starts feeling. That's when the sex stops being routine and starts becoming an experience, a place where he doesn't have to be in control, because she's already showing him. She's got the fire to lead, the courage to own her sexuality, and the emotional intelligence to create space for both of them to be vulnerable. That moment, she pushes him back on the bed, climbs on top and tells him what she wants, maybe even whispers it into his ear, with a slow drag of her nails down his chest. That's not lust, that's a memory, one he'll replay in quiet moments, when he needs to remember what it felt like to be desired, not for his strength, but for his soul and skin. That energy lingers. It marks a man in places deeper than touch. The truth is, most men carry unspoken pressures in intimacy, performance anxiety, fear of rejection, the need to please, the weight of always being the one who delivers. But when a woman initiates boldly, confidently, it lifts that weight. It gives him a moment to just receive, to be consumed, instead of consuming. That power shift isn't threatening, it's liberating. It makes him feel like he's not alone in the desire, that she's right there with him, meeting him in hunger, in rhythm, in risk. And the wild thing, most women don't even realize how powerful this energy is. They think they have to wait for the mood or the right moment or his signal. But the truth is, she is the signal. Her confidence, her touch, the way she walks toward him with that quiet heat in her eyes, that is the invitation he's been silently waiting for. That is what turns the bedroom into something sacred, not just a space for sex, but a place for mutual surrender, for emotional expression through physical hunger. It doesn't have to be theatrical. It doesn't need lace or lingerie. Bold initiation can be as simple as reaching under the covers in the middle of the night, pulling him close, and making your body a statement. It can be grabbing his face in the kitchen and kissing him like you can't wait another second. It can be sending that text in the middle of the day, tonight, yours. No excuses. That's initiation. That's ownership. That's the dirty little secret most men keep to themselves, hoping, waiting, craving for you to discover it. Because the woman who takes what she wants without asking, who doesn't apologize for her arousal, who makes the first move with fire in her fingertips, that woman, she isn't just giving pleasure, she's fed him freedom. The freedom to feel wanted, the freedom to respond, the freedom to let go, that energy, that's unforgettable. There's a level of seduction that doesn't come from what you wear or how your body moves. It comes from your voice, not just the tone, not just the volume, but the intention behind every word you speak when your skin touches his. Most women underestimate the power of their voice in intimacy, but men, deep down, they crave it. They crave the sound of your desire, your approval, your fantasy, and not because they're selfish, because they're wired for it. A man can be buried in your body and still, he's waiting for the sound of your pleasure to tell him if he's truly succeeding. But what he won't say, what he won't ask for is for you to speak it, to moan it, to whisper it, to own it, because men have been taught not to ask what they crave. If it sounds too dirty, too vulnerable, too needy, they may never admit it, but their bodies respond immediately to words, especially your words, spoken in the heat of the moment when they're soaked in authenticity and not filtered through politeness. So here's the truth. Talking dirty isn't about acting like someone else. It's not about imitating porn or using words you don't mean just to sound hot. It's about alignment. When your mouth matches what your body is feeling, you become magnetic, a force he can't tune out. Your voice becomes his drug. The way you tell him where to touch, how deep, how slow, the way you breathe out that one-word praise when he hits the right spot, that is not extra, that is essential. Let's be brutally honest, many women hesitate to speak up in bed because they think it'll make them look too much, too aggressive, too needy, too wild. But what most women don't realize is that men are waiting for that. They're aching to hear it. Because for a man to know he's giving you something real, he needs a reaction, not just your body's reaction, your mind's reaction. Your voice is the most intimate confirmation you can offer. It says, I'm not just here, I'm in this. Think about how different it feels when someone tells you exactly what they want.
Hello?
When someone says your name, low and slow in the dark. When someone tells you how your touch makes them feel. That's not just sexy, that's vulnerable. It takes courage to say what you want, and when a woman speaks her desire, she doesn't just turn him on, she teaches him how to satisfy her. Men aren't mind readers. They'll try, they'll guess, they'll follow cues, but without verbal confirmation, they're flying blind. When you say it out loud, you give them a map. And here's the best part, men love to follow a woman's lead when she's confident. When she tells them where to go, how to move, what she likes, they feel like kings. You're not taking power away from them. You're elevating their performance. You're giving them a live audio feed of their success. And dirty talk doesn't have to be complicated. It's not about having a script. It can be as simple as don't stop just like that. You feel so good. It can be specific, harder, slower, right there. It can be praising, you make me so wet. You drive me crazy. I've never wanted anyone like this. It can be fantasy. I've been thinking about this all day. I want to feel you deeper. I love how you take control. The key isn't the words, it's the truth behind them. Say what you feel. Say what you want. Say what you love. That's what he's waiting for. And when you're bold enough to talk about what turns you on, something shifts. You stop performing and start experiencing. The connection deepens. The sex becomes more than friction. It becomes emotional. It becomes mental. It becomes a game of anticipation, a rhythm of exchange. He starts reading your cues better. He listens closer. He reacts faster because now you're feeding him in real time, not leaving him in the dark. Even in relationships where routines can dull the edges of sexual energy, a simple sentence can reignite the fire. Imagine whispering to him at dinner, "You have no idea what I'm going to do. See you later." Or texting him midday, "Thinking about your hands on me last night." That isn't vulgar. That's intimacy. That's keeping the door open to sexual playfulness, even outside the bedroom. And when the moment does come, when you're skin to skin, breath to breath, those words turn into memory triggers. He remembers what you said. He relives it, and he shows up even more fully. What's most powerful about verbal intimacy is that it doesn't require a perfect body, perfect timing, or perfect moves. Just truth, just presence, just your voice, soaked in heat and honesty. That voice doesn't just arouse, it commands attention. It builds trust. It makes the entire experience richer, fuller, more addictive. Because when a man hears your pleasure, he doesn't just feel good, he feels like he matters. He feels like he's connected to you in a space where words usually disappear. And in a world where men are told to be silent about their needs, your voice becomes a permission slip. Your dirty talk becomes more than words. It becomes a signal that says, I see you, I want this, and I'm not afraid to let you know. There's an overlooked truth in intimacy, one that too many people miss because they're busy focusing on the obvious. It's this: a man's pleasure does not begin and end in the places you think. His body isn't just designed for sex, it's built for sensation, for exploration, for discovery. And when a woman takes the time to learn that, to truly explore him like a map no one else has dared to chart, she doesn't just arouse him, she disarms him. She awakens something far deeper than lust. She creates an emotional opening through physical curiosity.
Here's the hook. Most men have no idea how much pleasure their body can actually hold. Why? Because no one's ever gone looking for it. They spent a lifetime being reduced to 3 erogenous: lips, chest, groin. The rest of him, ignored, untouched, unseen. And beneath that, there's a hidden longing, a desire to be experienced, not just used. There's a part of him aching to feel your hands explore without agenda, to feel your lips wander without permission, to feel your eyes devour every inch of him, like he's not just a man, but your personal masterpiece.
When you explore his body with presence, you break the sexual script that's been drilled into both of you. You stop doing what's expected and start doing what's felt. You give him something he didn't know he was missing: permission to surrender. Because here's the secret, most won't say out loud. Men want to surrender too. They want to feel taken care of, cherished, worshipped, even, not in a way that emasculates them, but in a way that says, every part of you matters to me. So touch him like he's never been touched. Start where others stop. Linger where others rush. Trace his collarbone with your fingertips. Kiss behind his ears, where the skin is soft and unexpectedly responsive. Let your mouth explore the curve of his spine, the slope of his stomach, the inside of his wrists. You'll feel the subtle reactions, a shift in breath, a tightening of muscles, a soft moan escaping before he realizes it. That's his body realizing it's finally being seen. That's not just arousal, that's intimacy on fire. And don't be afraid to go deeper into the spaces that feel taboo, only because no one's ever normalized the idea that he too deserves full-body pleasure. His thighs, his hips, the back of his knees, his lower back, even the places nearest boundaries, these areas hold tension, sensitivity, and potential. And when you explore them with slow, conscious intention, you're not just pleasuring him, you're reteaching his nervous system that his whole body is safe, desired, wanted. Men often carry shame around their bodies too. They may not verbalize it like women often do, but it's there, silent and buried. Shame about softness, about vulnerability, about being too sensitive. But when you explore him without judgment, when you enjoy touching him just to feel him, he doesn't just feel sexy, he feels accepted. And that kind of acceptance in bed, it creates a bond nothing can replace. Think of it this way, women are often told to make themselves beautiful, touchable, appealing. Men, on the other hand, are rarely made to feel like they are the object of beauty or admiration. But when you let your gaze linger on his body, when you touch him not because you have to, but because you want to, when you show him through action that he's just as deserving of being explored, he will never forget that feeling. That's how you create a man who's not just loyal but emotionally connected, because now you're not just a partner, you're the one who made him feel like a full person, not just a performer. And it doesn't need to be rushed. In fact, the slower you go, the more powerful it becomes. Explore him like you have all night. Make every inch of skin matter. Let your hands stay a little longer. Let your kisses land with intention, not habit. Make him gasp with your curiosity. That sound he makes when he's caught off guard by how good it feels. That's real. That's not performance. That's vulnerability. That's what happens when you stop treating sex like a checklist and start treating it like a conversation, one where your hands speak fluent desire. Don't just focus on giving him pleasure. Focus on noticing what brings him pleasure. That subtle change in breath. When you trace the inside of his elbow, the way his eyes close, when you kiss his lower stomach, the involuntary grip of his hands, when you run your nails down his back. These are the signs that tell you you're accessing parts of him he didn't even know existed. And when he starts begging for more without using words, that's your confirmation. You're inside the hidden chapter of his sensuality. A chapter few have ever read. What happens when a man feels fully touched isn't just physical, it's chemical. His brain lights up with oxytocin, the bonding hormone. His guard lowers, his walls soften, and in that space safety, you get something most women never reach. Emotional openness through physical surrender. You're not just touching his body, you're rewriting his understanding of pleasure, connection, and trust. Because when you explore him like he's worthy of that level of intimacy, he doesn't just feel good, he feels understood. And that, more than anything, is what makes physical touch unforgettable. There's a shift that happens in the room when a woman loses control, not recklessly, not carelessly, but intentionally with full surrender to her desire. It's a shift that a man feels, not just in his body, but deep in his mind. Because as much as men are often seen as the sexually driven ones, what truly awakens them is the evidence that the woman in front of them is just as turned on, just as present, just as captivated. And that evidence comes loudest, not through perfection, but through her lack of control. We live in a world that tells women to be composed, to be quiet, to be pleasing. Even in the bedroom, there's this silent script. Don't be too loud, don't be too messy, don't look like you're trying too hard. But that script doesn't arouse, it performs, it manages, it disconnects. What men secretly want, and what they'll never fully put into words, is for the woman they're with to let go, to unravel, to stop thinking and just feel, because that's the moment, it becomes real. There's something so deeply erotic about a woman who doesn't apologize for her hunger, the way her breath changes, the way her fingers grip the sheets, the way her hips move without rhythm or reason because she's lost in sensation. That moment she moans without filtering it, arches without hiding it, gasps without covering her mouth. That moment is electric, not because it looks a certain way, but because it's raw, it's honest, it's instinct over image. And here's the deeper truth. When a woman loses control during sex, she sends a message that says, this feels so good, I can't hold it in. That message for a man is affirmation. It tells him he's doing more than just pleasing her body. He's reaching her. And that's where real intimacy lives. Not in technique, not in how many times you switch positions, but in those flashes of unrehearsed, unscripted vulnerability. In the way her pleasure pours out uncontained. A lot of women worry about what they look like in those moments, about making a face, about sounding too desperate, about appearing too much. But what they don't see is how magnetic it is as a man to witness a woman stripped of all social polish, just feeling. In that space, she becomes untouchable, not because she's flawless, but because she's authentic. Her arousal becomes truth, her moans become music, her surrender becomes an invitation for him to join her in that wild, unguarded state. And it's not just about volume or theatrics. Losing control can be soft, quiet, still. It can be the way she whispers his name while clinging to him, the way her legs tremble, the way her body stiffens right before she lets go. It's not about being loud, it's about being present, fully, unapologetically present. Men notice, men feel it, men feed off it, because that moment, she forgets to hold her stomach in, or pose in the right light, is the same moment she becomes unforgettable. That's when sex stops being a performance and starts becoming an experience, a space where neither of them is leading or following, but just responding. That's when connection deepens. That's when it starts to feel like more than pleasure. It starts to feel like truth. And that truth, it builds emotional intimacy without a single word. Because when she lets go, she's trusting him enough to be seen in her most unfiltered form. That's powerful. That's emotional currency. Think of the last time someone let you see them cry, not for attention, but because the feeling overtook them. That moment stays with you, right? That's the power of emotional surrender. Sexual surrender works the same way. When a woman lets her body speak without censoring it, when she rides her pleasure without controlling it, she becomes unforgettable, not because of what she did, but because of what she allowed herself to feel. Men are deeply visual, yes, but they're also incredibly attuned to energy, the kind of energy that says, I trust this, I want this, I'm not pretending. That's what makes sex stick in a man's memory. The way she let herself go with him, in front of him, because of him. That's what plays on repeat in his mind later. That's what redefines how he sees her. She's no longer just sexy. She's powerful. She's sensual. She's real. And when a man experiences that kind of sexual honesty from a woman, something shifts in him too. He becomes more focused, more present. He listens closer. He wants to give her more, not just physically, but emotionally. Because now it's not just about finishing. It's about feeling. It's about touching her in ways that make her feel herself so deeply that she forgets anything else exists. That's the kind of connection that creates addiction, not to her body, but to her presence. There's no act in the world that can compete with a woman who lets her pleasure take over her, who stops performing and starts participating, who stops holding back and starts giving in. When she reaches that place, she creates a space where both can lose themselves, not in fantasy, but in truth, in heat, in unfiltered closeness. That kind of energy is rare. And when a man experiences it, he doesn't just crave sex, he craves her. There's a silent craving buried deep in the male psyche that rarely sees the light of day. It hides behind strength, masks itself in dominance, and waits for the right kind of woman to bring it out, not with permission, but with confidence. It's not about control in the traditional sense. It's about intensity, the kind of intensity that comes when a woman stops being delicate and starts showing her primal nature. Because as much as men are taught to be the ones who push, drive, and dominate, what they secretly crave is to be handled, sometimes sometimes gripped, scratched, bitten, taken by a wave of feminine aggression they didn't see coming. This isn't about violence. It's not about pain. It's about passion, raw and apologetic, unpredictable passion, the kind that tells him without words that you want him so badly that your body can't help but leave its mark. The scratch marks down his back, the imprint of your teeth on his shoulder, the bruises from where you wrapped your legs around him and pulled. These aren't just signs of lust. They are proof, physical, visceral proof that you lost control in the best way possible and that he was the cause of it. Most men won't say it, they won't ask for it, not because they don't want it, but because they've been trained to always be the initiators, the rough ones, the givers intensity. But deep down, there's a hidden desire to feel it back, to feel her fire match theirs, to experience what it's like to be wanted in such an uncontrollable way that she forgets how to be gentle, that moment when her fingers dig into his skin, or she grabs him with force instead of grace. It doesn't scare him, it ignites him, it affirms that he's not the only one burning. There's something primal about it, something evolutionary. When a woman lets herself be wild with him, when she gets a little rough, it taps into a deep psychological place that says, I choose you, I want you. I'm not afraid of my own need for you. That level of ownership over desire, that embodiment of sensual confidence, doesn't just heighten the sex, it transforms it. It turns it into a full-body, full-soul experience, one that he won't just remember but feel every time he touches the marks she left. It's in those moments when she pulls his hair during a kiss, when she pushes him against a wall, when she climbs on top and takes control with force and rhythm, that he feels more than arousal. He feels seen, he feels matched, he feels like he's not the only one with fire. And that recognition, it creates connection, because now it's not just physical domination, it's emotional release. Two bodies not battling but colliding with energy, so unfiltered it blurs the lines between love and lust, between power and surrender. And don't mistake this for a performance. This isn't about imitating roughness or copying a scene. It's about letting your body respond authentically. When your desire takes over and you grip his thighs tighter, when your breath becomes jagged and your hands start to roam with less precision and more purpose, when you stop asking, is this okay, and start owning the moment, that's when the dynamic changes. That's when he stops trying to lead and starts giving in. This doesn't mean you have to be rough all the time. It's about contrast. A soft kiss followed by a firm grab. A gentle whisper followed by a growl in his ear. A slow stroke that suddenly becomes a desperate pull. That push and pull, that dance between tenderness and roughness, creates a tension that's impossible to forget, because he never knows what's coming next. And that unpredictability, that's what keeps desire alive. When a man leaves the bedroom and feels your nails hours later, when he touches a sore spot on his neck from where you bit him and smiles, when he looks at his body and sees the evidence of your passion that stays with him, it's not just the act, it's the memory of how deeply you wanted him. That physical reminder becomes emotional. It tells him he's not just tolerated, he's craved. And it goes deeper than the physical. When you show that kind of intensity, it tells him you're not afraid of your sensuality, that you're not scared of your shadow side, that you're confident enough to hold space for both softness and savagery. And that kind of woman, she doesn't just arouse, she haunts, because she's not playing a role. She's showing up fully, wildly, unapologetically herself. There's a reason animalistic intimacy leaves such a lasting mark on the soul, because it strips away the expectations, the politeness, the social masks. It puts two people in a room and says, what if we didn't hold back? And when you're the one who initiates that shift, who chooses to grab instead of stroke, to moan instead of whisper, to dominate instead of submit, you become more than a lover. You become a force, a woman who doesn't just bring pleasure but leaves a signature on his skin, his mind, his memory. So let your body be bold. Let your hands leave imprints. Let your kisses bruise with passion. Let your voice carry hunger instead of hesitation. That energy, the one that isn't afraid to be messy, aggressive, or intense, is the very thing he didn't even know he was longing for. Because it doesn't just say, I want you. It screams, you're mine.
Right.
There's a secret space in every man's desire, a shadowed corner of his fantasy life that he rarely shares, often not even with the woman he trusts most. It's not because he doesn't want her to know, it's because he's afraid of what she'll think. If she does, afraid she'll pull back, afraid she'll judge him, afraid the rawness of what he wants might make her see him differently. And so, instead of speaking, he stays quiet. He buries it. He turns it into something private and silent. But when a woman steps into that space first, not with pressure but with permission, she becomes something unforgettable. She becomes the woman who saw all of him and didn't flinch. There's a kind of magic that happens when you surprise a man with what he's afraid to ask for, when you intuitively reach into that part of him he's learned to suppress, and instead of recoiling, you invite it. You welcome it. That's not just sexual liberation, it's emotional freedom. Because in that moment, he's not just being physically satisfied, he's being understood on a level most people never touch. The hook here is that you don't even have to go extreme. You don't have to guess his darkest desire or try to become someone you're not. What matters is your willingness to explore, to initiate Berkasens that don't rely on euphemisms or embarrassment, to look him in the eye and ask, what's something you've always wanted but never said out loud? That single question can open up a world of trust and vulnerability, and trust, real trust, is what makes intimacy addictive. Sometimes it's not even about the act itself. It's about the feeling that you're curious about him, that you want to know what turns him on. Not because you're trying to perform, but because you want to connect, because you're not afraid to meet his desire head on. That kind of curiosity is intoxicating. It makes him feel seen, it makes him feel brave. Because if you can hold space for his secret wants, you become the one person he can fully be himself with. And when that energy enters the bedroom, the atmosphere changes. Suddenly, it's not about what's normal or safe, it's about what's real, about what's been locked away, about the scenarios he's played out in his head 100 times, but never voiced. It could be role play, it could be power exchange, it could be letting go of control, or taking full control. The specifics don't matter as much as the energy. Your energy, the energy of a woman who doesn't recoil when something unexpected comes up, but who leans in with curiosity and confidence. Imagine whispering something bold to him in the dark, something he thought he'd have to beg for, something he thought he'd never hear. Imagine the way his breath would catch, not just from arousal but from shock, from the disbelief that you knew, that you sensed something in him he never dared to say. That moment. That's unforgettable. That's where emotional intimacy and sexual chemistry collide so intensely it becomes its own language. Because what you're really doing in that moment isn't just fulfilling a fantasy. You're healing a part of him, a part that's been hidden, unexpressed, possibly even shamed. When a man feels that safe with you, safe enough to show his unfiltered, unsanitized desires, he doesn't just trust you more. He desires you more, deeply, obsessively, because you've crossed a threshold most never reach. You've entered into the realm of sexual truth. The women who leave the biggest marks on a man's soul are rarely the ones who play it safe. They're the ones who dared to be different, the ones who asked questions others didn't, the ones who suggested something bold without flinching, the ones who said, let's try something new, not from boredom, but from desire, because they wanted to know their man deeper, wanted to explore, not just his body, but his inner world, the one filled with cravings, curiosities, and moments of vulnerability he didn't even know how to put into words.
And you don't have to get everything right.
You just have to be willing to experiment, willing to take his hand and say, show me, willing to say, let's try it and see how it feels. That invitation is power. It tells him you're not afraid of him. You're not afraid of what lives in his silence. That you want to know what he keeps hidden, not to control it, but to understand it, to share it, to be a part of it. That willingness turns you from a lover into a partner in exploration. Someone who doesn't just respond, but initiates. Someone who doesn't just give pleasure, but gives permission. The permission to be fully expressed, fully turned on, fully himself. And when a man feels that level of freedom with a woman, it opens a new layer of connection. One built not just on sex or chemistry, but on trust, play, and the kind of erotic honesty that lasts longer than any one night. Because in the end, the deepest form of intimacy isn't just about physical closeness, it's about emotional permission. The kind that says, I see you, all of you, even the parts you're afraid to show. And I want you anyway. That's the moment the walls drop. The moment he realizes he doesn't have to hide. And that realization, more than anything, is what makes a man fall, not just into bed, but into bond, into memory, into obsession.